Hello everyone, my name is Adam Geiger with Zinpro Corporation, and I am a research nutritionist on the dairy side. And today we're going to talk about colostrum management with your newborn calves. When we talk about colostrum, our number one goal is to feed a high quantity of immunoglobulins or antibodies as soon as possible after the calf is born. Now, to do this, we generally talk about the 5 Q's of colostrum management. Quality. How many antibodies or immunoglobulins are in that colostrum on a concentration basis. Quantity, the amount of colostrum that we're feeding to our calves. Quickness, how quickly we milk our fresh cows to harvest colostrum and how quickly we feed that newborn calf. Cleanliness, we're talking about the bacterial content of that colostrum that we're feeding. And then lastly, quantifying or monitoring. Benchmarking to see if we've achieved passive transfer of immunity on farm by feeding enough high quality colostrum. For the sake of today, we're going to talk about quality and quantity, making sure we're feeding the right amount of high quality colostrum to these calves. Now, when we talk about feeding colostrum to baby calves, we want to feed 150 grams of IgG to our calves as soon as possible after birth. When I talk to producers and consultants about feeding colostrum, number one comment that is made is I feed 2 liters, or I feed 3 liters, or I feed 4 liters of colostrum as soon as these calves are born. The point I want to make is calves do not have a requirement for volume of colostrum. They have a requirement for grams of IgG. Now, when we are feeding colostrum to calves, most of the time we are feeding with a 2-liter bottle or a 3-liter bottle, okay? And the question I also get is, should I be feeding with a bottle or a tube? Now, the point I want to make clear is that there is no difference to the calf. Both tube feeding and bottle feeding will result in successful passive transfer of immunity very consistently. But what's important is that if we want to feed 150 grams of IgG, we need to be consistently feeding colostrum that has a concentration or a quality of 50 grams per liter or higher. And in order to do that consistently, we need to be testing our colostrum for quality. And there's 2 common ways we do that on farm. The first way is with a colostrometer. What we should be doing is filling a cylinder with maternal colostrum and dropping this apparatus into it. And it should be reading at the green level. If it's reading at the red or the yellow level, that means the colostrum is not high enough quality. Now, the one thing we need to be aware of with this type of technology is that it is temperature dependent, and our colostrum needs to be as close to 20 degrees Celsius as possible. The other tool we have at our disposal is a Brix refractometer. That's going to give you a Brix reading between 0 and around 40. Our goal is to have a Brix reading of 23 or higher, which is acquired by placing a few drops of colostrum here and pressing the go button. And when we have a reading of 23 or greater, that means the colostrum is good enough quality, 50 grams of IgG or greater. So what that means, if we have high quality colostrum, say we feed 4 liters of colostrum that is 50 grams of IgG per liter, that means we're feeding 200 grams of IgGs to those calves at the first feeding. That is where the industry gold standard of 4 liters of colostrum as soon as possible after birth comes from. So in closing, there's really 3 main points that I want to make today. Calves have a requirement for grams of IgG and not liquid volume of colostrum. In order to make sure we're feeding enough IgG, we need to be regularly testing our colostrum before we feed it to calves and disposing of anything that does not meet our quality standards. And based off the typical range and quality of IgG, 4 liters of maternal colostrum tends to be adequate to consistently achieve passive transfer of immunity, but we need to be regularly testing it to make sure that we are achieving passive transfer of immunity. So So that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.